Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ontario Cryptids. I'm really glad you're here because I have 3 brand new encounter stories to share with you this week, each one packed with mystery and intrigue. Also, a quick heads up, there's another 20% off sale happening right now at Ontario Cryptids merch store, but there's only 2 days left, so don't miss it. I really need to get better at announcing these sales. Maybe I'll start posting them in some YouTube shorts or the communities tab. If you enjoy this content, hit that like button, the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you'll never miss another upload. And if you have an encounter story of your own, I'd love to hear about it. Send your stories to ontariocryptids@gmail.com. Now sit back and relax, and let's dive into this week's intriguing tales. So my sister was driving me to my place. We both live in a small town surrounded by rural areas. We make this trip about once a month to see each other. We were just casually talking when there was a very sudden eerie shift in the air. Neither of us said it out loud, though she told me later that she felt it too. We have to slow down to cross a small bridge, the only way from one side of this tiny town to the other. And on the right-hand side, we spot a dog that's not quite right. It's skinny, not like it's unfed, but like its limbs are a little too long. It did not pant, it did not run, it did not react to our car at all. It just stood, head lowered slightly as it watched us pass. It moved slowly, like a predator stalking its prey. In that moment, it felt as though it had been waiting, knowing that anyone in town had to funnel past this point. It didn't growl or lunge or chase, but even in the safety of the car, we both silently, without a word, held our breath, feeling a real and sudden danger. As we passed, its head swiveled slowly, intentionally to follow us. It did not blink, and I could see its eyes were not quite dog, not quite human, completely black in the center, but with whites far too visible. As we passed, I watched it in the rearview mirror with its shoulders hunched and head lowered further. Now it stalked behind us with slow, measured steps. If I had to compare it to a dog breed, I would say it's an Ibizan hound or greyhound with that big barrel chest they have, completely black coat with the snout of a Doberman, and no discernible markings, and the weirdest, longest limbs I've ever seen on any animal. I love dogs, but that thing was not a damn dog. I've been an avid Bigfoot enthusiast all my life, and I've occasionally been active in this sub. I'm also a skeptic, and as such, I've always stopped short of deciding if I do or do not believe in Bigfoot. I've spent many hours outdoors and have had an odd experience or two, but nothing that I would describe as definite or conclusive. However, 5 days ago, Tuesday, May 13th, 2025, I saw something very strange. I'm not saying for sure that it was a Bigfoot, but I haven't been able to think of a different explanation, so who knows? It's not a particularly compelling or sensational encounter, but I thought the folks here may find it interesting. I was driving in an area of the Willamette National Forest in Oregon. Forgive me, but I do not wish to give the exact location on where. To check out several campgrounds in the area as I intend to go camping there next month. I decided to drive a ways further up the road just for fun. The road I was on would eventually cross over the crest of the Cascades and come down the other side. It's a somewhat popular region for recreation as well as logging, though this time of the year there were very few people out there. I enjoy off-season camping for exactly this reason. Anyways, it was around 1:30 p.m. and I was driving east on a paved one-lane road. The grade was somewhat steep and I was traveling uphill. The road was curving gently to the right. Up ahead, maybe 20 or 30 yards, I saw something. It quickly crossed a road from left to right. A portion of the road was obscured by trees as it was on a curve, so I only saw the thing for a very brief moment. It was perhaps only 1 second or two, but it was definitely something out of the ordinary. The thing I saw was upright and fairly tall. I'm reasonably confident it was as big as an adult man or larger, but not ridiculously big. It wasn't 10 feet tall or anything, but it could easily have been 6 or 7. It was a light brown or tan color. Its shape was somewhat boxy, not with sharp corners or anything. I just mean that it was bulky and not particularly shapely. It was maybe the size of a refrigerator, just a bit slimmer. It was too far away and I saw it for too small of a time to make out any fine details such as head or face or arms. I do believe I saw it taking a step with what would have been its right leg. Of course, I immediately thought it must be a Bigfoot, but then shot it down and tried to think of what else it could have been. I thought of a person on a bicycle, as it seemed to me it moved fluidly, almost gliding across the road. I ruled out a bicycle though, as there was no trail where it crossed, and if there was a bike on the road, I would have passed it as I drove further up. A deer also occurred to me because of the color, but obviously deer don't walk upright. These are the things that flashed through my head as I drove up to the spot where it crossed. I slowed my car down nearly to a stop when I reached the spot. I didn't get out to look, which I regret now. In the moment, I was in the mindset that I had seen something ordinary and that my mind had just played a trick on me. Plus, if I had seen a large animal, there was a small chance it might pose a threat to me. And I was unarmed aside from my Shih Tzu Toby. The spot where the thing crossed was somewhat interesting. To the left, north, there is a steep hillside leading up to a ridge. However, there was a bit of a low saddle at the point where the thing had crossed. I looked at a map and I saw that there is a small lake a few hundred yards to the north. To the right, south, there is an abandoned and overgrown old Forest Service road that doesn't appear to lead anywhere other than deeper into the woods. I couldn't see down this road a significant distance as it dropped off steeply. Whatever crossed the road would absolutely have to cross from the saddle on the left to the abandoned road on the right. Anyway, that's my story. I drove a few miles further up before turning around and headed back down. I slowed down as I crossed the spot again and scanned the sides of the road, but of course I saw nothing. I do very much regret not getting out to look around for tracks or something. Oh well. I'm certainly not saying that I definitely saw a Sasquatch. I'm not saying that I didn't. I do know what I saw, and I don't think it was a deer, and I don't think it was a bear. There's no chance it was human. I don't know. What do you all think? I've had a few people ask me to share my Bigfoot encounter, so here goes. In 2018, a friend of mine and I were camping in the Upper Chattahoochee Wildlife Management Area in the North Georgia mountains about 10 miles north of Helen, Georgia. The area has had a reputation for decades for cryptid sightings, mainly Bigfoot sightings. We were there just to camp and explore. We parked along the Forest Service Road and hiked to our campsite about a mile along the Chattahoochee River, a very primitive area. The first night we had a fire, we'd eaten, and we prepared for sleep. Suddenly, a large branch about 5 feet long and maybe 4 to 5 inches thick came flying into the campsite, crashing near the fire. It came from pretty high above us, crashing through some other tree limbs. We both turned and saw about 20 feet away from us in the glow of the fire a 6 to 7 foot tall creature with longish hair, a beard, and what looked to us at the time like a thick jacket. It didn't occur to us at the time that we were looking at a Bigfoot. We shouted something like, "Hey, what the F?" and the creature turned around and ran away. That's when some details became clear to us. This thing was thin, but had huge arms and legs. It lopped. It didn't run. It made a noise like a whooshing grunt. It had long hair and a thick, long beard, which we later realized was facial hair. It looked more like a human than simian. The jacket we thought it was wearing was dirty fur. It seemed very unkempt, and we noticed a rancid smell when we finally got our wits about us. It ran into the pitch black woods, no trails. While it didn't use the trail that we came in on, instead ran straight through the woods in the pitch black of the night. As you can imagine, this freaked us out pretty badly. We grabbed some of the items that we could pack quickly, threw some water on the fire, and hightailed it out of there back to our car. It was a terrifying hike. We were shining our flashlights everywhere around us. We got back to the car and stayed there the rest of the night, rehashing what had happened. At the time, we figured it was a wild man. There had been claims of a wild man living in the mountains up in that region. But we also considered, was this a Bigfoot? We both had been skeptical of the existence of Bigfoot. But well, damn, it looked like a Bigfoot. At the crack of dawn, we hiked back in, got the rest of our stuff, made sure the fire was definitely out, and left the area. Over the next months and years, we talked about the experience with several people, including some rangers working in the wilderness area. Not only did they seem not skeptical or doubtful, everyone, including the rangers, told us that Bigfoot sightings had been reported up there for years and that we probably did see one. The rangers told us that it was probably irritated by the fire and wanted to scare us out of there. It worked. Ever since then, I have been a Bigfoot believer. I've been on a couple of Bigfoot expeditions, jokes in my opinion, and have not seen another. But I have a feeling I will again. Thanks so much for sticking around until the end. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and the encounter stories that we shared. Before I forget, I want to wish all my fellow Canadians a happy Victoria Day long weekend, the unofficial kickoff to barbecue season. A big shout out to our awesome channel members, Elizabeth, Jim, and Teresa. Your support truly means the world to me. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you'll never miss another episode. And if you have an encounter of your own, I'd love to hear about it. Send your stories to ontariocryptids@gmail.com and it could be featured in a future episode. Wishing you all have a fantastic week ahead and don't miss next week's episode of Ontario Cryptids.